What's going on, you guys? Today I'm going to be going over the cycle that ex-Jehovah Witnesses get stuck in. Whether you were born in the religion, whether you chose to be a part of the religion, this is a cycle that even I get stuck in at times. I've been out of the religion for 10 years now. I left whenever I was 16. I left whenever I was 16, 17. I can get into that, maybe more of that story later on. But I'm 27 now. I have, seen sort of a cycle that has emerged in my own life. Not only just mine, but, now I'm starting to go around ex-JWs more and more, starting to talk to them. It's been a wonderful experience, right? But I do see something that we're all sort of struggling with. And I think it's something that isn't a coincidence. So I'd like to bring, a little bit of light. I'd like to shine a little bit of awareness. This is not coming at anybody in particular. If anything, this is more or less just talking about my own experience. But let's get into it. I'm going to talk about a certain word, and I want to break it down as succinctly as possible. It's the word agency. Now, agency to me is more or less making your own decisions, right? Wanting to sort of do your own thing, live with your own singular purpose, no matter what happens, whether people agree with you, whether people don't want to be around you, whatever it is, right? I talk about agency a lot without ever actually talking about it. I talk about, no one's ever going to control me again. I am breaking free. I am done falling for the manipulations, for everything that the Jehovah Witnesses stand for, where these, not just them, right, but all of these different, whether it is Jehovah's Witnesses, whether it is Republican, Democrat, anything. You see it a lot, especially in America, if you have people from out of the country watching this. But they want you to choose a side, and they want you to let go and just be a part of our team, and that's it. They want you to listen to them, right? They want you to use them as the main authority figure, as the external authority figure, that they are the ones who are going to tell you that it's all right. They're going to tell you how to get through this, yada, yada. Coming from the Jehovah's Witnesses, I see myself not even knowing how to do that. I was born into the religion, right? So I don't know what the hell it means to any of that, right? Any of that talk where I'm going to do what I want to do. That was rebellious talk. I'm a rebel. I am, going against God himself, right? Just because I, back in the day, right, wanted to grow maybe a beard, right? That's going against God. Now, again, don't want to get too deep into that, but just, they have these different things a part of each one of these groups that if you want to do it, that's a no-no. We're going to sort of tell you what to do without telling you what to do. This is the problem that I see with people who are either joining these religions or born into these religions. It's a problem with agency, right? And it's not so much always that issue. What I'm seeing is that you'll have people that will join, right? And they, whether they're going to admit it or not, want to be told what to do, right? They want to be told what to do by somebody, right? Because just for any reason. And then they get tired of that. They get tired of it, then they leave and they say, oh, these people are so terrible. They were just wanting to, mislead us and this and that, right? And then they decide to do their own thing. Again, nothing wrong with either one of these. And then they feel lonely, right? They start doing their own thing and they feel disconnected and they don't feel a part of a community and they just want something, right? They want something. I felt this most acutely whenever I was first leaving, right? I left, said, nobody's going to tell me what to do. F you, just that's all it is. I'm living by I'm a lone ranger. Felt very empowered, but I didn't feel any sense of affiliation whatsoever. I wasn't affiliated with anybody whatsoever. Very much just on my own. What did that do? That led me to want to get into exactly what I talked about. I got into politics, and I started to be, coming from the deep South, Republican. Great. Yeah, we're all in this together. Yeah, we love Trump, this and that. Didn't get too crazy with it, right? But then I, went that way. Moved up north. Guess what? Started getting into more politics, but this time left. Started leaning left. Started to say, oh, yeah, going back and forth to all these different, all these different teams just so I could feel a part of something, right? And I never felt like I was actually myself whatsoever. It was a long journey of going from team to team to team. I didn't feel anything. But what I didn't want to feel, I didn't want to feel alone. I didn't want to feel utterly alone like whenever I was playing by my own rules. So if you're still with me, there's two sides of the coin if you can pick it up, right? I was either, completely brainwashed, completely giving away all of my personal power to, these groups, or I was completely and, not knowing how to connect with anybody, but I kept my personal power, right? These were the two extremes that I kept on going, vacillating from. And this is the sort of cycle that I work with people on, right? I now work not only for myself, but I'm also working with others who are dealing with substance abuse, that are dealing with, addiction. I had an addiction leaving the organization, right? Terrible addiction. I was addicted to alcohol. I loved Xanax for a long time. Any type of, really anything that somebody would give me, I would grab a hold of it and go with it, right? It took me 8 years. People talk about the 12-step groups, people talking about all these different things. It took me 8 years before I found those groups, right? And whenever I first found them, people were saying, oh, just let go. Oh, just be, give yourself over to the steps. Fuck no. That's like as point blank as it is to like sounding like a cult to me, right? It took me 8 years to really get my own, again, the word that I was talking about, that agency, before I could surrender it, right? I didn't have anything to give to the program because I didn't have agency in the first place, right? So now I work with people, right? I work with people who are dealing with addiction, who are dealing with their own recovery, and not just in the Jehovah's Witnesses. That's what I see a lot of people dealing with, but I work with people who are, needing that agency to be able to make their own decisions so they're not flip-flopping from, oh, I'm this lone wolf, I live by my own rules, and they're not just going completely brain dead, right? But it's finding that little middle ground to where you can still be around people, but have your own agency, be able to do your own thing. I work with people and I use this book, Pulling Your Own Strings. It's a good book, really good book. I can put probably about 10 books in the description for you guys that have helped me with building my own agency, as well as helping others find their own self and be able to, really find a nice little middle ground, what I'm talking about. What I do, more or less, there's plenty of information out there. There is so much information out there, right, that I think it's good to help people find just a few resources to stick to, as well as, that book knowledge, also the real life experience, being able to work with someone one-on-one, being able to trust your gut, one or the other, right? If somebody says something, you get a negative feeling, you get pissed off, you say fuck off, this and that, sorry for my language, but you say this and that, whatever to them, and they didn't mean it in a bad way, you might have misread your gut, right? You have the Jehovah's Witnesses who might meet you at a bad time. They might have, I know everybody knows one person who was going through the obituaries and then write letters to people that are, losing family members. If they catch you at a bad time and they wish you something that is too good to be true, but you still buy into it, you didn't listen to your gut. So there's different ways that you can get real world information, or get book knowledge. These different things can help you so that you can learn to get this agency, so you can really get on with your life. It took me about 8 years to get this agency so I could surrender it, right? I don't know if I mentioned in this vid, but I'm in these 12-step groups. I work with this type of stuff for my own benefit because I had problems with addiction, but I couldn't surrender any agency if I didn't have any agency in the first place. I couldn't give myself to a program, right, that actually is trying to help me if I didn't have anything to give in the first place, right? So, I'll put the books in the description. Email me. I'll put my email in there too if you want to work with me. But yeah, this is a cycle that I see. I'll probably be making more vids later on about just how religious trauma messes all of us up. But that's one of the biggest things that I see right now. And I call it's an addiction to authority.